You know me, love rainbows, love colorful things. Hey you, welcome back. It has been a little while since I have demoed any new art supplies or painted together with you. I have a new watercolor palette that I am loving, and we are going to paint a piece together, and I'm also going to show you what I'm enjoying so much about the palette. I have been using this palette already, and these are two of the landscape pieces I've created so far. I painted these two mountain scenes in Arizona using only this palette, the Superstition Mountains, also called Lost Dutchman, and Papago Park here, which is my personal favorite mountain setting in Arizona because I grew up near it and it's such a unique formation. If you happen to be new here, I'm Paige Poppe. I'm an artist and my primary subject matter is nature, but I tend to lean toward desert landscapes and desert plants, hence these sceneries. Besides the palette, I do have a couple other goodies here. The art supplies were gifted to me to try out, see how I like them. And we're not working together on this video, but I just love it so much that I knew I wanted to share it. So Faber-Castell doesn't even know I'm filming this. I just really want to share about it with you. They sent me these 3 kits, and I'm not going to use these 2 today, but just because we're here, why not share them? I will also link all the supplies I used today down below. First, I have these gelatos, which I'm very excited to use more. I've played with them a little bit. They are pretty similar to the pastels I use right now because they are water soluble, which is why it includes a little paintbrush, but they differ from my pastels because they are a thicker, chunkier tip, and they also twist up. And I have this set of gel crayons. It's a set of 6 and it's a neon color palette. I also tested these out a bit and they remind me of a pastel type crayon that I use. I will go grab it. It is this art crayon by Marabu. I randomly grabbed this at Blick one day because in my art, yellow is the color I go through the fastest. So when I buy watercolors or acrylics or anything, I tend to get a larger tube or more quantities of the yellow color. This is called a watercolor crayon, and it also twists up just like the gelatos, and these gel crayons twist up as well. These are like a clear formula, so they're not going to be super opaque on your paper or your canvas. So it's kind of cool that these are 2 very different products. And now we can get into this palette that created these 2 paintings that we are going to use today and to paint this canvas. This is the connector paint box in the set of 24 bright colors. I believe there's also a set of 12, and this comes with a paintbrush, which I love, and a tube of Chinese white. I'll pull this baby off, but there is a little info on the back of it that I will tell you later. As you can tell, mine is already well loved. I used some white oil paint pen that is very permanent, and I shouldn't have put it on the lid of this. Forgive me that this isn't like a perfect version. It's already used. So this palette is really fun. I will say that I was looking at it on Amazon today, and it says here it's for ages 8+, which I think most art supplies are suitable for children and up. So when I first tried it, I was like, okay, like this will probably be like decent. But I ended up being really surprised once I made these 2 pieces because of the richness of the color. I tend to work with watercolors less wet, and that means I get a more pigmented color typically, and then these ended up being super pigmented naturally, so I really got that quality of the paint that I love. So anyway, the concept of this and the bright colors are definitely kind of young and playful, but you know me, love rainbows, love colorful things. I am a fan of anything that actually brings you to your childhood. I think it's very cool to get in touch with like the happiness and the wonderment that you had as a child. So I was kind of excited about it for that reason. It has these little rubber tabs that you pull off with the lid. And like I said, it's the 24 palette. So this actually lifts off, and then you have 12 more colors underneath. Before we get into painting, I will show you a few more features of this that I like. The lid that I just took off here also functions as a palette. It has these 5 wells for color, and this one's really nice and big. And you also can use all this surrounding edge for your paint as well, so you're not limited to just 5 shades. And then this is the paintbrush it comes with. It rests right on top here in this little well of the palette. And I already mentioned I love this brush because Number 10 is my favorite size to paint with, definitely because it was the first ever size I used in one of my watercolor classes that my teacher recommended we try. I have mentioned number 10 brushes to you before when we're working with watercolor, and it just happens to be the perfect size to be able to get fine details with a point and also larger washes of color with the side of the brush. Under here is the Chinese white, and if you're not familiar, a lot of watercolor palettes, if they come with a Chinese white or a white tube of paint, it is not a watercolor, because with watercolor, if you need white, you're supposed to use the white of the paper, because you obviously can't make like a watercolor that's white. It would just be water. So if you ever have a white tube of paint in a palette, it is typically a gouache paint, which is kind of a blend between an acrylic and a watercolor. And then lastly, all of these paints actually pop out, and they also separate individually and you can interlock them. I like that feature because I can just pull out the ones I'm needing and have them like closer to me. And when I first saw that, I was like, okay, cool, that's a good concept. But what I read on the back here is that the color replacements can be purchased individually. So that's cool that you might use a lot of yellow like me, and you can just repurchase this only and not have to get an entire new set of paints. Oh, it's also very affordable. Pretty good. So let's make a painting with this. I had to run out yesterday to a workout class, so here we are the next day, and I've got my extra setup here so you can see what I'm painting. I think I'm going to do another landscape today. I just think that the watercolors performed really well for them. I'm leaning toward painting the Superstition Mountains. If you watched my Instagram followers choose what I paint video, you will see that the majority vote was for superstitions, so I've been meaning to paint it more often. I really enjoy painting it too because it's such a unique formation and has a lot of really cool details and sculptural qualities. But rather than do our painting today in a neutral tone like these, I think I'm gonna do all tones of pink and maybe some purples, because there is this peachy color here in the palette, and I think it'll serve as a really great base, and then we can build up from there. Since I'm gonna restrict myself to one color palette, I'm gonna build myself a little set here, and I actually can make it into a circle. There we go. Isn't that cool? I wasn't sure how much I would use that feature, but I work with kind of a limited color palette often in painting, so it's actually pretty well suited for me. And we've got our water. Got my towel. Jake ordered pizza for his classmates, and it came with all these cups, and they have become very good painting cups for me. I'm gonna start with that peachy tone, but add a touch more pink to it. I want it to be a little more rosy. These paints really have kind of a milky quality, which, like I said, is something I enjoy for my paints because I tend to work with them less wet. You know, if you look at this, it doesn't even necessarily say that it's watercolor, and it says opaque paints leave stains as like a warning. So I almost kind of wonder if this is more leaning toward a gouache set. Kind of interesting. I didn't think of that till now, and I'm already working on my third painting with this piece.
Where are we going? Where are we going this time? I'm tired of staying, playing out this lie.
Like I said, I love this brush. I feel like it gives me the right amount of control for the details, but I'm also able to lay it down on the side here and get some larger washes of color.
Just trying, why are we dying inside? Our love is iron, hypnotized for life. Don't you know that we need to grow? You keeping us below where we can go. Don't know why I refuse to leave someone I should behind, but it works out fine. I keep on holding on to you. I keep on growing, I keep on growing.
Although we're working on the superstition painting, I thought I would mention this one of Poppe Park, which is my probably all-time favorite spot in Arizona. But it happens to be the mountain range that I've probably painted least. I think I've only painted it like 3 or 4 times ever, which is crazy considering that it's my favorite. I don't know why that is. So this painting has been sitting on my shelf and I really enjoy looking at it. And around this time every year in August, I start designing my 2020 calendar. This year I'm bringing you along for the design process more. You'll get to see like the whole concept of the calendar revealed, and then the calendar will be available in October and November. But since I was enjoying this painting sitting on the shelf so much, I designed it into a calendar page yesterday. So it's in like a different color palette, but I really like how the page turned out and I hope you'll like it too. While the foreground is drying, I do think I'm gonna work on the sky. And I was thinking of keeping this all purple and pink tones, but I do think I'm gonna go ahead and do some blue colors for the sky. I think I'm mainly going to use these two shades and then maybe add some pink on top of it after I lay that all in. And I'm gonna add a decent amount of water to this so it's not very opaque. These are also categorized by 12 base colors and 12 extra colors. And like I said, there is a 12 count and a 24 count palette available on Amazon. I have the 24 count. I'm guessing the extra colors, which were the bottom tray, are the ones that you would get in the 24 palette, and then you would get the base colors in the 12 palette. And obviously I'm not walking you through step by step of this painting. My intention isn't for it to be a tutorial at all. I am just trying to kind of show you how the paints perform and give you some tips so that when you create your own pieces, you kind of have an understanding of how these paints work if you decide to pick them up for yourself, which I would recommend, because I don't know if I would have grabbed this palette on my own off of the shelf, and now I really like it. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of test out what I was just saying about being able to go back in and layer. So this darker purple in the foreground has dried in the area I want to work in. So I'm gonna try and lay in this saguaro back where it was. I think that's a really good start. I did have to darken the cactus a little bit, but for a first layer of paint, we already got a good amount of opacity, and then I will go back in and layer on top of it a second time. All right, we're back for day 3 of this painting, which normally wouldn't take me 3 days, but with trying to capture everything I'm doing, I've had to stop and start. I first wanted to show you the painting. This is how it turned out. I wanted to mention a few things I did yesterday off camera. I did play with the Chinese white a bit. I used it for adding this lighter purple area here. I blended the same purple tone with the Chinese white. And then this underlayer here of light pink I made with Chinese white. I did 2 or 3 coats, and then I did a darker pink on top. So that's how it's looking. I'm really pleased with it. And here we can see the smaller neutral toned version. Both are pretty. Funny enough, I got more detail into this piece despite it being a smaller canvas. I did plan to layer and add more detail in here, but ended up being pretty happy with how the watercolor created some variation within the foreground. Let's take off the tape. While I do that, I'll just say that my overall thoughts on this palette are really positive. This is my 3rd painting I've made with it, and I continue to be happy with it. I've tried almost every color, and now that I've finished painting, it's really easy for me to snap all the pieces back in. If you have any questions about the palette, please leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer them, and you can also find everything either in the description box below if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching from my blog, everything is linked there as well. If you haven't checked out my blog, I do post all of my videos on there, as well as other blog posts that I've written, so be sure to check that out. And here we are. The tape made the cleanest edges ever. That's something I've been doing with my pieces that I have never done before, because I typically like to paint the edges of the canvas, but for these ones I just felt inspired to try the wood look, which I think is actually really pretty and natural and clean, and just blue painter's tape is perfect for that. I get the double wide kind, and I created beautiful edges for this fun piece. And there we have it. I hope you enjoyed seeing how this piece progressed, and also this new palette that I'm loving. This is going to be definitely in my rotation of art supplies that I use often, and I do have a couple other videos about different watercolor palettes that I use or have made, so I will share them both in the description box and on my blog for you. I would love to see you for next week's video as well, so if you're not subscribed, be sure to do that now, and also hit the thumbs up button, which will let me know that you want more videos like this one. And until then, I'm sending all of my positive and creative vibes your way, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Keep on showing me we lose. I keep on holding to you. What am I holding on to? What are we showing?